Hello everyone, Franz here to talk about the Jet Squelcher, give you an intermediate guide about this weapon, for beginner slash intermediate. If you want a bare basics guide, you can go over to Dragonoto's video, which I will link in the description, and that is for a more basic guide. This is aimed at people who have used the weapon a bit before, know a bit about it, or know a bit about the game in general. Right? People generally consider Dragonudo and I to be, one of the true best Jet Squelchers in the Western scene. So that's why we're bringing you these videos. There's been a greater increase in Jet Squelchers with all the changes for the new game. Alright, so we have the custom Jet Squelcher, Burst-Bound Stingray, and the vanilla with Toxic Mist and 10 missiles. So, the CJS, Custom Jet Squelcher, is definitely a bit more of an attack-oriented, flex-oriented, and the Vanilla Jet is a bit more defensive-oriented. That being said, most of these weapons, or both of these weapons, are support-based weapons. Generally, people use CJS because the Vanilla Jet Squelcher is simply too defensive. Really help with pushes and such. So getting into it. The main weapon is long-range weapon. One thing to keep in mind is that when you're firing at long range though, directly shooting at targets you won't be able to hit them. You do need to lead your shots a little bit. But when you're at medium range, you'll hit the target. Shorter range, you'll hit the targets. Next thing I want to talk about is the subs. So first, about Toxic Mist. Usually you will open with using a Toxic Mist for enemies on Snipe and such. The other common place for Toxic Mist is using it in chokeholds, where players must get through to push the objective. Something similar to that. Next up is Burst Bombs. And the main thing that we'll have to figure out is whether you want to throw the Burst Bomb before you shoot or after you shoot. Usually, you want to throw the Burst Bomb after you're shooting the opponent, because the Burst Bomb has a good amount of travel distance where the opponent can see the Burst Bomb, react to it. The opponent may randomly move in the time that you're throwing the Burst Bomb, and shooting the opponent is much, much quicker. And so, usually you want to throw the Burst Bomb after, especially because the opponent can run away, they can run up ramps, they can fall behind cover, and using the Burst Bomb is easier than trying to shoot the person if they're behind cover. There is one good time to use a Burst Bomb first, and that's when you are on top of your opponent. You want to come down on them, open with a Burst Bomb, shoot at them, kill them, or if you want to go all in, double toss the Burst Bomb, don't hit the ground, and drop down on them. But usually you just want to do the one Burst Bomb as the quickest kill. Next up is using the specials. So 10 missiles, you want to be back when you use them. You also want your team to be up, as well as the enemy team, so that your team can capitalize on 10 missiles. You also want a teammate actively in front of you, as if you pop your 10 missiles and there's no one in front of you, the enemy team sees you, they will rush you down. The other thing you do with 10 missiles is if you're standing on high ground and there's a wall or protection here, you can pop and drop your missiles, instantly fire them off, and you'll be safe. Here I am, I'm Matt Maria, and we've been talking about Stingray. So Stingray, most people would start from a perch or snipe, or they'd be in spawn, and they would aim it down at people in mid, or aim it down at snipers and such. Sometimes this is a good idea, especially last time or overtime tower pushes, great for stopping it and such. But there are other ways to use Stingray a bit more effectively. In general on maps, there's a horizontal line on all the maps, draw down the middle, and they are symmetrical across this line. Now, in general, you can Stingray down this horizontal, and it will be more effective than Stingraying across the map. A notable exception would be something like Port Mackerel, where there are lanes, and it's hard for people to move around in the lanes. But if we look on Manta Maria and many other maps, if you look, it is hard. There's not much room if a person is up here to move around and avoid your stingray. If I'm stingraying across this horizontal. If I'm stingraying from spawn, I have much more room to just move around on this map and avoid any stingray from spawn. The other reason is that it is easy to go from your base into mid, but it's hard to go from mid back outwards. And so if you're catching people in mid with a stingray, they have less options, fewer options to move around in. That's the other important thing to note. Now, for stingraying, a few other tips is that when you're stingraying, you hit an opponent, they will appear on the map so you can aim your stingray accordingly. The other thing is fighting stingrays. Is that if I'm stingraying and there's a guy up on snipe stingraying, when the guy is shooting at me, I will not stingray, I will jump across like that, and jump across and re-aim and shoot. Generally, if a person is shooting you with a stingray, you are not going to win simply by counter shooting. You will have to move. So if you see the aim come at you, move out of the way. And that's all about stingray. So next I will talk about some general map stuff and some general attacking and defending. Alright, so here I'm on Muscle Forge Fortress. I'm going to be talking about general positioning, attacking, and then defending. However, I want to first talk about the two main goals of Jet Squelcher. That is putting down paint and putting on pressure. If you are putting on paint, good on you. But if you're standing too far back away from your team that you're not putting on pressure anymore, you are not helping your team. And the main role is to help and support your team. Right, so always keep that in mind. General positions, you will want to be behind your team. If they're fighting in mid, it's okay to be back here. And you want to be up on the high ground. You can definitely hit people on the left side for Muscle Forge specifically. But you do want to be on the high ground. You can see everything, better view, all your teammates' various things. So first, about attacking, is that you do still want to be behind your team. You want to be actively putting on pressure onto an enemy. You can imagine that this tower is a teammate of ours, and we're trying to hit someone over there. Alright, so we can be shooting around our teammate, as hitting them blocks our shots, and be throwing burst bombs around them. You can shoot over our teammates as well, and they'll give your teammates some paint down, and you can slowly push in together in on the enemy. If you're starting back here and you're starting to get an advantage, feel free to push up with your teammates and make that jump. You can jump down here, push up with your teammates. If your teammates start falling back, you can fall back too. Or if the enemy is also damaged, you can move up, throw a burst bomb, and then back off, because you should not be as damaged as your teammates are. Last thing about attacking is if there's an enemy up on high ground, it's hard for your teammates to get. What you want to do is, I don't want to stand back here and start moving in, because the enemy's going to see me and they're going to back off. Instead, I'm going to be standing in my range. Once I know I'm in my range, I'm going to start opening fire. I'm going to hit them. When they back off, I'm going to throw a burst bomb off, and that'll kill them. Alright, so that's about attacking. Next up is defending. On defending, like I said, it's easier to get from mid, or get from your base into mid, harder to get from mid into your base. So, if I'm an enemy, I drop down here, it is hard for me to get back up here. Alright? So this is an ideal place for me as a Jet Squelcher to put on pressure. I can shark and bait people in, or if I wanted to, I could look the other way as I know enemies are coming down, make the enemies think I'm not looking that way, turn around, and then shoot them. But otherwise, they're both valid ways of putting on pressure for defending. And of course, if my enemy is pushing, I definitely do want to be somewhere around here where the enemies are coming from to be able to put on pressure. One of my teammates might be over there as well, and so I definitely want to give them some damage on the enemies too. So one thing about the baiting is that, as you notice when I talked about baiting, I am standing back here. Alright, I'm not standing up here close to the bridge or even on the bridge. This is because it is hard when it's hard to move on the bridge, but also it is too close. Alright, if there's a 10 attack coming, they can swim up quickly and kill me if I'm standing this close. You'd be surprised. That's why I give myself more room than I might think I need, because when they come down, it's really, like, it's at my maximum range, and so they can't move forward at all in the wall behind them, so they can't move back either. And so they won't be able to kill me, they'll be forced to move around. I can follow them, I can kill them. Another note about defending is that you can use your stingrays and burst bombs and such to move people around. But usually the enemy, when they want to come back in for an attack, they'll usually super jump up to some of these spots. You know, some of their high ground spots and such like that. When you see an enemy super jumping, you have your stingray. Aim your stingray such that their easy method of escape is into your stingray, and you can follow them up like that. So if someone's super jumping there and I'm aiming my stingray here, they either have to move into my stingray or they have to fall down into this worst position where my team is probably standing and I can back off and I can start stingraying even more from back here. Alright, so that is all about attacking and defending. Next, I'm going to talk about all of the different 1v1s matchups they can counter. Here I'm going to be talking about all the different matchups. First thing to mention is the ranges to fight people at. So I want to mention 5 different ranges. These are the barrel stuff range. You're right on top of the opponent. Next is short range, medium range, and long range. The final is a fall off range. As you notice, I can't quite hit my opponent here. If I move my aim up, I can hit my opponent. Alright, this is going to be useful for a few different matchups. So, for the most part, you're going to be outranging your weapons. So all these weapons are just going to outrange. The pros, you're still 96, you're still going to outrange them, but they do have a good amount of range, so be sure to keep things long. Jet Squelcher, I'm going to be talking about separately on how to fight it. The blasters, I'm going to tell you the specific range to not fight them at. All other ranges are okay to fight them at. Balloona, don't go short range. Don't go short/medium range. Range Blaster, don't go medium range. Flash Blaster, don't go short/medium range. The Rapid, don't go a medium/long range. You can outrange them going long range, going fall off range, but they have a good amount of range. The Rapid Pro, don't go long range against at all, unless they aren't looking at you. Try to get a medium range or shorter. All of them you can barrel stuff. Every single blaster. L3H3, you outrange. Squeezer, you still outrange, but it has a good amount of range. All the rollers, you just long range. They can't do anything. Their flicks at long range don't deal enough damage to you. Ink brushes, you outrange. Squiffer, you can still outrange, but watch out for when they're out of range, they swim up on you and do that to kill you, as well as the other unscoped chargers. But the unscoped, all the chargers beyond it, on the Squiffer, they outrange you. So you will have to play a normal shooter, wait for them to shoot, and stuff like that. The bamboo, it's just a weird sort of matchup. It's just weird, honestly. And fall off range it. It's hard to fight against, but you also don't see them that often. The usual swimming around tactics and making yourself unpredictable are best against a bamboo. The Goo Tuber is hilarious in that you can fall off range it very safely. Because both of the ranges are almost the same. but the Gootuber takes so long to charge that if you're at fall off range, it's really hard for them to hit you anyways. The Slushers, you can all outrange them. The Mini, you can outrange. The Heavy has about the same range as you. Your best bet is to either wait for them while they're charging, or to use your fall off range against them. The Hydra, you just gotta wait for it to charge. It has more range than you. The Dualies, you all outrange them. The Umbrellas are a special mention. You can fall off range them, and that is good. You can throw burst bombs over them. The Umbrella main weapon uses some main ink, so you can throw a disruptor at them. The thing with Umbrella is that when you're shooting at them, they will move forward on you, alright? So most weapons will move backwards, but the Umbrella will move forward. And so you might be used to shooting and moving forward on Umbrella, but don't do that. They're not going to back off. They're going to move forward, and you're going to be in a worse position. So for Umbrellas specifically, remember to back off from them. Next, how do we deal with the specials? We're going to sort by the specials here, and we're going to talk about them. So first up, Stingray. I talked about it before. You're a long range shooter, you are going to get Stingrayed at. It's like taxes, you just kind of have to deal with it. Next is 10 missiles. Again, if you see someone using 10 missiles and there's not a teammate in front of them, you are really good at dealing with someone who pops their 10 missiles in a bad location. With all of the range that you have, you can also throw a burst bomb beforehand because they're not going to move too much, and it'll be a great combo. But you are going to get missiles aimed at you. It's like death, you kind of just have to deal with it, honestly. Ink armors, you're not going to have too much of a trouble as you are going to be outranging them. They can be an annoyance, especially when the weapon is already on top of you. Brown brushes, you paint over them, you're not going to worry about them too much. Inkjets are a bit difficult because they can shoot at you. Obviously, they can shoot at you. But you're also good at shooting back at them as a long-range shooter. So your team is going to rely on you to take out the inkjets. Your best bet is to keep it a medium/long range, specifically medium/long range. This is to give you some time to avoid an inkjet shot coming at you, but this is also so that if they start backing off, you can still follow them and damage them. So that is an ideal range for taking out inkjets. Otherwise, stick to long range. Just keep in mind that your team expects you to deal with them. Splashdowns, you will mostly ignore splashdowns. You'll just back off, you'll shoot at splashdowns. For free chip damage, throw a burst bomb after the person is done splashing down. This will catch them in some of your ink, and again, it's free damage. That goes for any burst bomb weapon also. Ink clouds, you're just going to paint over them. Not going to do too much to you. Ballers, they're going to come up at you. They're going to hit you once and then explode so that they can kill you. They're sort of like your in-laws. You just have to deal with them, shoot back at them, keep them off, that sort of thing. Bubble blowers, you basically just back off of the bubble blowers, shoot at them. If the person blowing the bubbles is close enough to you, you can approach them with your long range. Either shoot over the bubbles or shoot around the bubbles to kill the person. It is viable for you. A lot of burst bombs over. If a person is riding in their bubble, you can throw a disruptor. The person isn't going to gain any more ink. If the bubble is moving, it's going to be harder for the person to keep up with the bubble. So that is all about specials. Finally, let's talk about dealing with a Jet Squelcher itself. So there's a few different ways to deal with a Jet Squelcher. One is to do a surprise flank attack, and it's fairly standard. You flank a long range thing, kill it. The next is doing quick attacks. So coming down on a person, you're coming down on the jet quickly and being able to kill them. Like when I talked about that baiting, jet wants to stand farther back than it might think, because if jet's standing too close, it is susceptible to getting a quick attack. on it and being killed. Next is a coordinated attack, where you and a teammate go in, or on the Jet Squelcher, or you coordinate some specials together, take out the Jet Squelcher and other members of the team. That works fairly well as well. The last is a pressured attack, where you throw bombs at the Jet Squelcher. Most notably, when I was fighting SCDX, whenever I would stick my head out, I would have 4 burst bombs immediately come after me. Just like as soon as I stuck my head out, just or burst bombs after me. That is definitely one way to deal with the Jet Squelcher, get them away from the spots that they want to be standing on. So that is all for dealing with a Jet Squelcher. Finally, how do we put a Jet Squelcher into a comp? Well, the Jet Squelcher more or less can work with whatever weapons you want it to work with. The only things of note is that it's a little hard to work with the snipers and can be hard to work with a long-range flatlings. Otherwise, you can put a jet into whatever comp you want to, and it'll work fine. If you are a teammate and you are trying to work with your Jet Squelcher, there's just a few things of note for the teammates. One is that your Jet Squelcher is, if they're a good Jet Squelcher, they are pretty much always a beacon of safety that you can jump to. They're also a beacon of safety that you can back off into, and your jet will start hoarding back whatever enemies are approaching onto you. So always be sure to stick within your Jet Squelcher's range. Don't go so far out that even your Jet Squelcher can't help you. Just before I end this video up, just going to show my gear set, because I'm sure some people are going to ask about it. I run an orthodox set of a 6-main set. Special charge, bomb defense because less bombs. I use respawn punisher because of my playstyle a bit farther back, not too far back, but a bit farther back and a bit more picking off opponents. And then more Inksaver and instant speed to move around. And here are my control settings as well. I use the Pro Controller. Alright, that's all for the gear. That's all for this video. Should check out Dragon News Guide on a beginner jet video. He definitely touches up on things that aren't in my video that are different. We work together to make sure that we provide you different content and to give you the most information about Jet Squelcher as possible. So that is all. See you guys later. Thank you for watching.